The story begins with a brilliant scientist who assembles a living creature from human remains. However, upon seeing what a monster his creation has become, he renounces it, and the monster sets out to find its creator, wanting to get from him what he did not give it. The plot begins in the far north in 1857. Captain Anderson's expedition is stuck in the ice near the North Pole. The crew is exhausted, but the captain stubbornly moves toward his goal, even if it costs people their lives. When night falls, the sailors notice the glow of a fire. Going to investigate, they find blood-stained snow, a dog sled, and a seriously wounded stranger. But most importantly, a deafening roar echoes somewhere nearby. A huge creature emerges from the darkness. Bullets have no effect on it. The monster literally tosses the sailors around like soft toys, demanding that they return the wounded man. Only the first mate's powerful rifle briefly stops the monster, sending it overboard. Even then, it stubbornly clings to the ship, and only the captain's shot into the ice beneath the monster's feet causes it to fall into the cold waters. The wounded man assures them that this is only temporary. The creature will return. It does not know how to die, and it would be better to give him back to the beast. This man's name is Victor Frankenstein, and he is the one who created what is haunting him. Victor goes on to tell his story. In his youth, he grew up in a wealthy family. His father was a stern surgeon and baron. His mother was the heiress of a noble family, completely subjugated to her husband's will. Victor grew up to be a diligent student, observing his father's work. But everything changed when his mother died, giving birth to their second son. His father was unable to save her, and Victor, shaken by the loss and resentful that his father, with all his knowledge, was powerless, vowed to defeat death. Meanwhile, the story is interrupted. The captain is informed that people have spotted the silhouette of a monster in the fog. Panic grows. The crew wants to get rid of Frankenstein, but the captain forbids it. After his father's death, Victor goes to study at King's College, determined to fulfill his vow at any cost. He presents a project to the Council of Scientists on reviving dead tissue with electricity and demonstrates an experimental sample assembled from the parts of corpses, which begins to move under the influence of electricity. However, the council members consider his work to be not science, but fairground mysticism, and expel him from the university. Victor meets Heinrich Harlan, a wealthy arms magnate. His niece, Elizabeth, is about to marry William, Victor's younger brother. Heinrich is interested in the young scientist's research, especially the idea of reviving the dead. He shows Victor his replica of the human lymphatic system, created for study. It could be an important element in the experiments. The wealthy industrialist offers funding to take a step toward their dream of defeating death and achieving eternal life. But in the midst of their discussions, William and Elizabeth appear. Victor is surprised to notice how much his brother's fiancée resembles their late mother. In the north, Victor can barely stand, coughing up blood, but continues his story. Meanwhile, breaking through a meter of ice and climbing out of the icy abyss, his creation moves toward the ship again. After receiving funding, Victor begins the darkest phase of his work, collecting material. He examines criminals sentenced to death literally before the scaffold in order to immediately take away fresh bodies. During such necrofopping, he unexpectedly meets Elizabeth. They go to a restaurant and discuss literature. She, as it turns out, prefers biology textbooks. Meanwhile, Victor shifts all responsibility for creating laboratory equipment to his brother, while he himself walks with William's fiancée, catching butterflies and philosophizing. But Victor's research is at a complete standstill. Heinrich is increasingly dissatisfied with the lack of progress and gives the scientist only a week to produce results. While Victor is racking his brains over the experiment, Elizabeth visits him, admiring the dissected body and firmly stating that nothing can happen between them. She is promised to another. Hurt and depressed, Victor lies in the bathtub, and suddenly an idea strikes him. Symmetry. By rearranging the needles and changing the polarity, he manages to get the corpse to move. Inspired by his success, Frankenstein and Heinrich go to the battlefield to collect a harvest of fresh bodies. In the laboratory, he methodically cuts up the corpses, assembling a monstrous construction set from different parts and throwing unnecessary fragments directly into the ocean through a special hatch in the basement. Finally, The creature is ready. Victor connects the galvanic cell, but the energy is not enough. Then lightning strikes the window, giving the scientist an idea: to use the power of nature. He rushes to Heinrich to tell him about the plan, but learns that Heinrich is dying of syphilis and wants Victor to resurrect him. Frankenstein refuses. Before experimenting on humans, tests are needed. Henry, in despair, blackmails him, but, threatening to destroy the equipment, falls into a technical shaft and crashes. Despite the damaged lightning rod tip, Victor decides to conduct the experiment. He sets up the equipment, catches the lightning bolt, and redirects it into the body of his future creation. The laboratory comes alive with flashes, but the body remains motionless. Tired and disappointed, Victor goes to bed. But when he wakes up, he finds a creature standing by his bed, a reanimated corpse. The monster repeats Victor's movements like a child trying to learn from an adult. The scientist has to teach it to walk, sit, and talk. To prevent it from escaping, he chains it in the basement. As the creature grows hair, Victor shaves it, but the monster grabs the razor, cuts the professor's hand, and within minutes, the wound is completely healed. Incredible regeneration. But the creation cannot boast of intelligence. It only repeats the name of its creator. At this time, William and Elizabeth arrive at the laboratory, looking for their uncle. Victor lies that Heinrich has left on business, and, excited by his success, shows his brother his laboratory. Elizabeth, hearing a strange voice, goes down to the basement and makes contact with the creature. For the first time, someone is talking to him as if he were alive. William informs Victor that the scientific community wants him to return to college, but Frankenstein is not interested in that right now. Elizabeth comes out of the basement and asks who is there, and Victor admits that the experiment was a success. But the main question remains: does the resurrected creature have consciousness, or is it just a mindless automaton? While Victor and William discuss the future of the discovery, Elizabeth teaches the monster to say his own name. This greatly annoys Victor. He sees the creature as a disappointment, a failure, a mistake. Hot-tempered and maddened by jealousy, he goes down to the basement and beats his test subject, trying to knock the mind out of him. This enrages the monster, and Victor runs away in fear. In the morning, he admits to his brother that he made a mistake. The creature, according to him, killed Heinrich. This serves as a reason to send William and Elizabeth away, for their own safety. Left alone, Victor pours fuel around the laboratory, intending to destroy everything, and the monster himself, if he does not learn at least one new word. But when the creature utters the name Elizabeth, Victor, in a rage, decides to burn him anyway. He throws a match and leaves, leaving the frightened monster begging its creator for mercy. But at the last moment, Victor changes his mind and rushes back. Too late. The barrels of liquid explode, throwing him aside and seriously injuring his leg. At that moment, William and Elizabeth return and find the destroyed laboratory, which has buried the fruits of mad science. And on the ship, interrupting Victor's story to the captain, the very creature bursts in. Hearing that its creator is calling it a monster, the monster, now able to speak, decides to tell its version of events. During the fire, Victor's creation manages to display superhuman strength. It breaks its chains and escapes through the same tunnel through which the discarded parts of the dead flew into the ocean. One might say it continued the family tradition. When the laboratory collapses, the monster ends up in the water and drowns, but the surf throws it ashore. Waking up, it wanders forward into a world that is new to it, completely unlike the frightening walls of the basement. In the forest, it finds human remains and loots a cloak from them to cover itself. Encountering a herd of deer, the monster tastes berries for the first time, and then shots ring out nearby. Local hunters mistake it for either a bear or some strange game and wound it. The creature hides, its wounds healing before our eyes, and soon it comes upon an abandoned farm and hides inside. In the morning, the owners return, the very hunters who shot at it yesterday. Hiding in the barn, the monster watches as a girl helps her blind grandfather, and the old man teaches her to read. Thus, the creature gradually learns the language. It becomes attached to this family and secretly helps them, gathering firewood, repairing fences. The farmers take the mysterious helper for a forest spirit and leave offerings for it. But one day, wolves attack the farm. The head of the family shoots the predators, and the monster realizes something important. Some living creatures are hated simply because of how they were born. In the fall, the peasants leave for the winter, leaving only one stubborn old man who refuses to leave his home. The creature finally decides to show itself. It enters, and although it can hardly speak, they manage to understand each other. The old man, mistaking the guest for a forest spirit, invites him to live with him and begins to teach him to read and write. There are a suspiciously large number of books in the house, and the monster begins to progress rapidly. But with understanding comes crisis. The creature wants to know who it is. It goes to the ruins of Frankenstein's laboratory and finds the records of its creator. Thus, the monster learns that it is not a human being, but a handmade monster. The pain of this discovery is only intensified when it finds a letter with Victor's address. Now the decision is made. It must find its creator and ask why he gave it life. Upon returning to the farm, tragedy awaits the monster. Wolves have killed its only friend, a blind old man. The enraged creature deals with the predators, sending the forest orderlies to the morgue, some with particular severity. Returning to the dying old man, it confesses that it has learned the terrible truth about itself. It is Frankenstein's creation. At that moment, the old man's relatives arrive. Deciding that the monster has killed him, they attack. The creature, defending itself, kills one of them and runs away. The hunters catch up with it and shoot it from a distance until the creature falls unconscious. But at night, the wounds heal, and the monster rises to go to Victor. Meanwhile, Victor, who lost his leg in the fire, is preparing his brother's wedding. In one of the rooms, he notices his revived son. The monster demands, "Create me a bride, one who will share immortal eternity with me." Victor refuses. A great idea for a sequel, but not the best for the coming week. Offended and furious, the monster throws his creator away. Elizabeth comes to the noise and calms him down. He recognizes her and softens. But Victor, in a panic, accidentally shoots her. When William runs in with the guests, the scientist accuses the monster of the attack. In the ensuing fight, William is fatally struck on the head. The monster disperses the crowd and carries the wounded Elizabeth to the cave, trying to comfort her in her final moments. Victor, following a trail of blood to them, tries to kill the creature, but the monster easily disarms him and wounds him, leaving him to bleed to death. He promises to destroy everything Victor loves, and then disappears. A desperate chase begins, leading north into the icy wasteland. At the campsite, the monster sets fire to Victor's camp, cuts him so that he bleeds slowly, and offers to blow himself up with dynamite. Maybe it will work? If not, he will return. As is usually the case, the explosives fail. The story returns to the ship. The dying Victor, after listening to the story of his creation, asks for his forgiveness, and the monster forgives him. The creator dies in the arms of the one he created. The captain brings the monster out on deck and orders his men to let him pass. The creature, possessing superhuman strength, breaks the ice trap and goes into the sea. Anderson, deciding that everyone has had enough adventure, turns the ship around and heads home. Frankenstein's monster, through the white polar silence, walks into a new dawn, finally finding peace. And on that note, the film ends.